Peace and love, everybody. Happy New Year. And it is the first episode of the year, Realize Real News. And I am elated to have this guest on the podcast with me. Um, I've been on him all my life, and I have seen him doing some amazing things. A business owner, researcher, scientist, and so much more. And so today, with all of his great knowledge that he has, we're going to dive into some very important topics that's taking place right now in current events. One of those things that people are not really focused on due to so many distractions is the shortage on water that is taking place here in the United States, and also the current events with the war in Iran. So, without further ado, I want to introduce to you my father, Muslim Shahid.
Thank you, Aisha. Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum to everybody who's listening here. And I want to say that before I start, I want to make, inshallah, I'll be able to talk directly to the points of some of the things of interest that I think people should be aware of, and particularly Black Americans or American Africans.
Yes, absolutely. And so before we get into those topics, I just briefly want to tap into you and just who you are for the people who may not know who you are. Well, I just told them you're my father, but you are a researcher and scientist for the last 40 years. But before we get into that, I want you to tell people a little bit about your background, a little bit like where you come from and why you chose science to be what you want to focus on as education.
Okay, that's a long story, but let's try to summarize this. I'm originally from Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, and I grew up in a family of 6 people, my mother and my 5 siblings. I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Okay, and let's make one thing perfectly clear here. I didn't really come from what you would say an educated family or well-to-do family. My daddy had a 3rd grade education. My mom didn't graduate from high school. She got pregnant in 11th grade with my sister, my older sister. So, the educational process from our parents was really kind of sparse. But my mom did want us to finish high school. So the whole thing was for everyone to graduate and finish high school. Now, interestingly enough, and I'm not going to talk on this too much, but when I was born, apparently I only had 1 string of hair on my head. I was completely bald head. And that string of hair went all the way down my back. And it was gray, fully gray. So my great grandmother told my mom that I was a special child, a chosen child. And my daddy didn't go for it. He called me a freak. But anyway, I was always been told that all my life. And naturally, I did gravitate to science, biology. My mama worked her butt off, God bless her soul. I asked her for a biology set. Next thing I know, I had a biology set. I asked her for a chemistry set. Next thing I know, I had a chemistry set. So by the time I got to high school and out of high school, I was really interested in chemistry, but I also was interested in religion. And actually, my major was to become a minister. It was when I went to college is that I began to realize that, well, maybe some things are not where they're supposed to be. And then I gravitated back toward the physical sciences. So that's kind of my background right there. Eventually, I graduated with a master's in chemistry. I went to graduate school and got, I got a BS in chemistry and a master's in physical inorganic chemistry. in 1981.
Wow. That's an amazing timeline and story. You know what I'm saying? And
Well, it actually gets better than that, but I don't have the time to go into the whole story.
well, that's amazing and just that's commendable to you, during that time to something inside of you wanted more and better for yourself. And you did that. So congratulations to you. And so you're also a man of many patents. You have over 100 US patents. Um, Tell us a little bit about that. How you have 100 US patents just by
Well,
yourself?
actually, I don't have 100 US patents. I
Okay.
actually got 90 patents worldwide. I
Okay.
do have about 120 technical publications, which is a feat in itself. How? Uh, that's just the way, the creator planned it. I would have to admit, I'm not going to sit here and tell a lie. Uh, Sometimes when I was kind of stuck with a problem, I just got inspiration. I can tell you right now, at least 40% of those patents was just serendipity. I just said, okay, you know what? I can't figure it out. I'm gonna try a little bit of A. I'm gonna try a little bit of B. I'm gonna try a little bit of C and mix in a little D and heat it a certain way, and then I'm gonna let it ride. And it it worked. So a lot of that stuff you do plan. Don't get me wrong. You do calculate. You do design the work, but some of it is just that's just the way it is.
Wow. And I have the pleasure of last year, I had the pleasure of having you come be a part of the second annual, I'm sorry, the first, this is our third year. You're part of the first
Right.
annual Black Gala Award Show and Ceremony. And let me just see if I can put a picture up there of you. You are getting your award. You're getting the Lifetime Achievement Award just for all that you have done in science and in research. Guys, we have a black scientist right here in our city of Houston, okay? And many people don't even know what one looks like, and you pass one every day in Kroger, okay? So thank you so much for all that you do. And so we're going to get back into. Let me get back on the screen here. All right, we're
Okay.
going to get back into a little bit more of what you do. So you have a company um, that you started, and it's called SIE Technologies LLC. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what that company does?
Yeah, SIE Technology is a company that I started about 4 years ago to bring to the industrial market technology for the purification of water. Now, SIE Technologies LLC is actually one of the companies I have. Excel Nutraceuticals is another company that's been around for a long time, but they all fall under the Shahid umbrella, Shahid Corp. Um, but since you brought up SIE Technologies, we have researched for about 8 years on how to remove toxic metals that are very difficult to remove. Also, toxic compounds, particularly organic compounds. And we've developed a system that will purify, really dirty water. Even if it's clean, it looks like it's clean, but it's really not. Our technology can meet the new EPA guidelines, which have actually right now been put on hold because of their current administration. Technically, all of the companies supposed to be working to meet the new EPA guidelines, particularly for lead and also for arsenic. But it's kind of like a hold on it because nobody's enforcing it. Nobody cares no more. That's the new administration. But the new guidelines supposed to be 0 parts of per trillion. Pardon me, 0 parts per billion of lead, and about 100 parts per trillion of what we call fluorinated hydrocarbons. And so our technology, which we built it from scratch, it was designed from scratch. Actually, I designed it on a, paper towel, and then I furthermore designed it on paper, and then I extrapolated the design into an actual machinery format, and then we built it from there. So we actually have built the device. It's not like we're working on it. We built it, and I've actually ran some runs on it, and it's tested to make sure it works the way it's supposed to, and and it did work. So right now we in this kind of in a stalemate because basically nobody's interested in cleaning up water unless they can get a piece of action. And when they want a piece, they want a big piece, and that ain't happening.
I understand that. And recently, I want to say it was earlier this month, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on the screen. This came across my news feed on social media, and it said Corpus Christi could be close to running out of water. We know Corpus Christi to be surrounded by water, right? There's beaches there, there's water, there's lakes. And so my question to you is, with the news that's been reporting that the city of Corpus Christi is now having to face water shortages, for what can they be expecting? And can you elaborate more on this situation and why is this happening to a town like Corpus Christi?
Okay, Corpus Christi used to be a town of about maybe 250,000 people about 25 to 30 years ago. But they gave a lot of companies, hydrocarbon processing companies, petrochemical companies, even some energy companies. They pretty much brought them in and gave them, tax breaks and other incentives to move to Corpus Christi. That also brought new people. So the population has expanded to about 550,000 as of today. So it's a growing Texas city. That's one problem. The old infrastructure, they didn't expand it because it was just a little small town. Houston is 3 billion people, and metropolitan Houston is 6 million people. So that's the issue. The next issue is that these petrochemical companies, they soak up all the water. When you run these plants, it takes a lot of water to cool these units, and they don't replenish them. They just throw the water somewhere, and a lot of times the water gets contaminated. So they were basically pulling from Lake Corpus Christi. Now what has happened is that the drought that Corpus Christi they had for the last 10 years, they've had a lot of drought, not a lot of water, not a lot of rain. The lake is drying up. In fact, the problem is so serious that the city is going to run out of water in January of 2027. They're going to be completely dry. It's going to be the first town in Texas city that's going to go dry.
So that means no water, meaning no water running through their house, through their faucet?
Like no water running through their house, their faucet. Now they got other water sources. The ocean, right? But it's full of salt. So right. 20 years ago, they considered building what's called a desalination plant. A desalination plant takes the salt out of the water by evaporation. Okay. But at that time, it was 140 million. And they kept kicking the can down the road. This mayor, he kicked the can down the road. The next one kicked the can down the road. Now, because of the growing population, and all the large industries, that desalination plant is going to cost about $1.5 billion, and they don't have the money. So now everybody's complaining. Some complaining that Governor Abbott didn't stay on top of his job. He claimed he did. But I mean, it's a political thing now. In fact, they're reaching out to San Antonio and trying to get San Antonio possibly at the end of this year to start pumping water to Corpus Christi. So it's a combination of the drought. It's a combination of fast population growth in population, too many big industries down there sucking up all the water. And then here's the cold-blooded problem. They don't even want to pay for it. They're using all the water and don't want to pay for it. So they kicked around charging them maybe 31 cents for 1,000 gallons. And they hedged on that. So it's a lot of politics going on down there. And then again, some of the water that they do use, the industries, they dump it somewhere, and now the other water gets contaminated. So that's the problem.
Wow.
And the problem is not only in Corpus Christi, West Texas. West Texas probably got 2 years. It's coming to Houston. It's about 10 years.
Yeah, that was my next question. Were there other places in the state of Texas that are having to deal with potentially not having enough water in their community? So you said West Texas.
West Texas. We talking about like, let me look at my notes here. El Paso, Odessa, Midland, Odessa, those areas. That's a little bit different, but it's still a water problem. This is a problem that overzealous, greedy entrepreneurs, companies, they've created this problem. Let me say one thing here, because I haven't mentioned. There's two sources of water. There's something called surface water, and then there's aquifers. Surface water is like the lakes, the ponds, even the ocean. Aquifers are under the ground. So in West Texas, most of the problem is the water is underground. Everybody uses aquifers. Houston has an aquifer. Cleveland has an aquifer. Now, I'm not telling you something I read. I've talked to these people already years ago, and they've told me the situations that are coming up, particularly in Cleveland and Dayton, Texas. When I say I talk to them, I talk to the people in water management. Okay? But in West Texas, the main problem is fracking. Fracking is when you push water down under the earth between the rocks. So the rocks basically in a certain formation, and the oil is below the rocks. So you push the water into high pressure, and it breaks up the rocks. Eventually, the oil can come up. But when the oil come up, it comes up with a bunch of salt. See, when you drill for oil, you got the oil on top because it's a hydrocarbon. Okay, then you have the water at the bottom. It's salty. They call it brine. Brine is just a salt solution. Okay, so when they break up those rocks and they pump that water, the oil up, salt come up. So what they do is take that salt, which also has toxic materials like benzene, some other materials naturally occurring, and they dump it right back in the lake or whatever somewhere. So now they contaminate the water. So now the farmers they can't raise no cattle because the cattle are dead. They can't raise any chickens because the dumped water gets in the reservoir under the ground and travels back to the other aquifer, and now it's contaminated. On top of that, do you know fracking causes earthquakes? The West Texas, they've had a lot of earthquakes, mild earthquakes, because when you break up that sediment rock, those platelets move a little bit, and that causes a shift, and now you got earthquake. And that problem there, they said they're gonna do desalination. They got new, and I know I'm jumping ahead of myself, but they have desalination plan. They're gonna build $100 million plant, $500 million plant. But they've been saying that for 5 years. We ain't gonna build it. Nobody want to spend no money. These people act like locusts. You know what a locust, a herd of locusts? They just come in and eat up everything. Yeah. Then when everything's gone, they move on to the next field. So that's a problem in Texas. And Houston is coming next to, because we have a problem. Because in Houston, we used to get 90% of our water from aquifer and 10% from surface. And they kind of mix the two together. Now keep in mind the surface water is coming from Lake Conroe, uh, Lake Houston. There are a lot of little lakes around Houston. But some of that water got like toxic metals in it, some organic, because people be dumping. They ain't following no rules. They supposed to, but they ain't following rules. But because of the growing population, Houston is now pulling more from the lake, the lakes, you know, surface water. So now it's about maybe 70 aquifer, 30, surface water. But in 10 years, it's going to be just reversed. And we don't have the infrastructure to clean up all that lake water. Houston uses about 250 million gallons of water a day. You hear what I just said? 250 million gallons of water a day. Big city. A lot of industry. I worked in industry for 30 years. But that's the situation. So that's one of the reasons why we kind of got into this business, to try to help alleviate, because the technology that they're using, our technology can do it a lot cheaper at a fraction of the cost. They use something similar to what we do, but they also use technology where you have to put the water through small portions of material, okay, in order to take the metals and stuff out. We don't use that technology.
And does SIE Technologies, do y'all have, or have y'all considered plans, or y'all have plans in place to address this issue, just in case somebody randomly just calls you and says, hey, we need you down here in Corpus Christi or Cleveland, Texas? Do y'all have something readily in place to take care of the situation and the amounts of water that is needed to restore?
Corpus Christi and also West Texas and even Houston, we can't address the salination issue. If you want to do salination is easy, straightforward. But the reason why we don't have them, because it costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of heat, energy to evaporate off water. Water just don't come off. You ever boil water in a pot on the stove? See how long it takes. This big old pot of water. Maybe you're doing some, I don't know, some crawfish. It takes a long time for that water to boil, because water has what's called a high heat capacity. I'm trying to keep from being too technical here. So that's why I'm kind of picking my words as I talk. So, but the contaminated water, the lake water, the surface water, the contaminated pond, the contaminated streams, the lakes, yeah, our technology can address it. And the only thing we need really is just a little bump. I say just a little bump. When I say a bump, I mean maybe $200,000. We've already spent, between me and my business partners, $400,000. The unit alone cost $100,000 just to build it. And then there's some other things involved. This is over a 8-year period, so it's not like at one time. So spread $400,000 over 8 years. You're talking about $50,000 a year, because you have to first do the research. Then from the research, you have to do you have to build a laboratory unit and prove that. If it works in that, then you go to a bigger laboratory you call a pilot plant, which we built that, and it worked. And then finally you go to the prototype, which we have.
Wow. Guys, I hope y'all are keeping up, because he's saying some words and dropping some knowledge and some things, and people are not really aware of that. Again, there's so much going on. And this also it's being said that, with everybody using AI and ChatGPT and Gemini and all these things every day, and people following these AI trends on social media, does that have a part to play in the water being used too as well?
That's a good. I like it. Okay. You on your toe. Yeah, that's one of the problems in some of these small places like Midland, Odessa, and outside of the industries. They don't really, when they write these articles, they don't write a sub area says they got AI data centers there. The AI data centers generally go to small towns way out. AI uses a tremendous amount of water. Why? Because in order for a chip information to be processed rapidly, it has to stay cool. And there are many ways they can do. They use water. Sometimes they just uh, uh, cycle the water around. They literally have these devices where all of the computer chips, all of the boards, they're in a special casing, like a polyester casing or maybe an aluminum casing, copper casing, which is expensive. And they literally lower it into the water, and water just comes around it. And those things get hot. You got a bunch of them in there, they get hot. So you got to take the heat away. If you don't take the heat away, the processing speed is going to slow down. Plus, you could damage your equipment. So they have to take the heat away. So they use a lot of water. And see, that water sometimes get into certain areas, and guess what happens to it? It gets contaminated. It's got all kind of metals in it. And you know what they do with it? Send it right back to the environment. Pull some more. That's what they constantly. So now those people went fishing, those people who went crabbing, well, they out now. You done
Yeah.
messed up the whole market. So that's one. But then they have other ways of cooling. They use evaporation processes. They also use special liquid, like antifreeze in your radiator. But eventually that gets spent. And the guy told me when I was building a unit, the water unit, he says, man, all we do is take the spent material. We drive 50 miles up 45. There's a salt well, and that's their what they call their environmental cleanup. They talk real nice on the TV. Yeah, we have environmental procedures to clean up the waste. And really all it is trucking 100,000 gallons of waste 50 miles up the road and dumping it in a salt well. That's it. They ain't gonna tell you that. I know because the people in North Carolina who's in the what they call the industry where mulch, where you want to make compost,
Yeah.
that's what they do. They make so much waste. Trucks come in. God told me during COVID, he had trucks come in all day, removing like 50,000 gallons of spent water, trash, driving up the street. This is in North Carolina, outside of Greensboro, and dumping it in the salt well. That's it. You got a well at the bottom, the salt, because they figure if you dump it in the salt well, the salt will hold it in. But guess what's going to happen 24 years, 25, 30 years from now? Somebody going to build a planned suburb out there where they dumping it. They're going to cover it up. They're going to start building homes, and they're going to build schools. And then 10 years later, little Johnny, he got ADHD. And they trying to figure, well, is it the vaccines? Don't look out there. You need to look in here. That's what the problem is. So you have to really look at these things in detail. But yeah, AI plays a big part in water waste.
And I have one more question about the water before we move on to our next topic of the segment. I know last year Japan dumped hundreds of tons of toxins into the water, into the ocean, and even though it seems so far away, that can potentially affect us too here.
Yeah, you living in a cosmopolitan world. That means that it ain't no more, and I'm using the word ain't because I want to push this point across. You can't hide no more. You can't say, it ain't my problem. It ain't the black man problem. I ain't gonna deal with it. That's their problem. Let them work it out. If you keep throwing trash in the field and don't nobody pick it up or say, hey, you gotta stop throwing trash, you're gonna open your door one day, your door, and there's gonna be trash sitting in front of your door. Them days over. Ain't no more. This ain't 1960. I grew up in 1960. This ain't 1970. I grew up in 1970. The world is like everybody's living in your living room. In 1960, we had to make a phone call like this. Operator, could you connect me to Chicago? Could you give me the number, please? 555-355-7676. Hold on, I'll connect you. That'll be $1.20. That's how you did it. And then if you call from a payphone, like they don't have a number, I don't think. If you put it, please deposit 75 cents. Then you be talking for 5 minutes. Hey man, then all of a sudden the operator butt in. I'm sorry, but you out of time. If you want to keep talking, you need to deposit another 75 cents. You're not living. Now you can just pick up your phone. Hey man, he could be in Japan. What's going on, bro? How's that Suzuki? How's that, tell me about it. That's the world you're living in. Can't escape it. You got to take responsibility. You got to take responsibility for yourself, or somebody else is going to do it for you. And you ain't going to like it.
And I said I had one more question about the water, but I have one more question about the water.
Okay.
What does that look like for the future if we run out of water? Because people are already scavenging and fighting over food in the grocery store and toilet paper. But if there's no water, what can that look like for the people in the future? We all seen the movie Purge, and if we ain't got no water, no food, what could that look like?
The human organism can go 2 to 3 weeks without food. Okay. But you can only go 3 to 4 days without water. So water is precious. All of the metabolic reactions occur in your body, help you digest your food, help you breathe, help you fight infection, help you heal from wounds. It uses water. So without water, we in bad shape. You want to look at how it looks. Look at some, and I'm not saying this in a negative way. Okay. Look at Sudan. The Sudan is the drought. Is you can't grow no food. That's what you're destined to be. So if you don't do nothing, well, Shahid, I don't have the knowledge to do this. As long as you have a voice and you make sure your concerns are made and heard, you're doing something. You can put pressure on the people who claim that they're in this to represent you. And you so woke. Why don't you, if there's woke and walking around, why don't you get together and run your own candidate? You can't find no candidate from all these people woke out. You ain't sleep. You ain't sleepwalking. Run your own candidate. Oh, you run. Well, I'm not gonna vote. And I know I'm jumping ahead of one of your questions, but okay. Then what? I don't know nobody and I can vote. Run you somebody. That's how you do that.
Absolutely. And so, with that being said, we're going to pivot into another topic, another current event that's taking place right now. With that man in office, you never know what to expect when you wake up. And more recently, we have seen there's been a U.S. and Iranian war taking place right now. So And I remember just growing up with you two as well. This isn't the first time we've seen this. This isn't something new. We've seen this before in the past, in the early 2000s and things of that nature. And so here we are again. So what, and I remember you used to talk to us about this too and just keep us abreast about what's going on. So could you give us a little background history on Iran and what's going on right now?
Iran, U.S. Yes. An old man told me, and I think he might have got it from the Bible. I don't know. But he told me this. I was a young man, maybe 20 years old. I'm 70 now. He said, in the final days, believe almost nothing that you hear and only about half of what you see. And well, because we know that today, you got to be careful with AI. So old boy, he wasn't lying. Now, I said that to say, you have to be proactive if you really want to know what's going on in international politics outside of America. Because the news media don't want to tell you nothing. They make you think everything is hunky-dory.
Right.
But to answer your question about Iran, Iran has a rich history, 4,000 years history as an area, and they've had quite a few great what they call dynasties. Um, so people move back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in that area. And up until about maybe the 7th century, Iran had changed in dynasty, basically kings or whatever, um, until the Islamic movement. Now, a lot of people think Islam comes in and just takes over. But if you, Iran history, which hasn't been corrupted like a lot of history,
right.
In the 9th century, only about 10% of the population were Muslim. Most of the people believe in, I don't know if you're familiar with a belief called Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism has to do with a little astrology and a lot of other stuff. So this is what most of the people believe in. But it took about 250 years, about the 12th century, when about 85% of the people were Muslim. So it took 250 years. So it was basically a slow process, knowledge, education. And Iran has been like that for a long time, up until, I'm not going to go into all of the history, but you can go research it. Up until about the early 20th century. There used to be some leaders in the Persian Empire called Shahs, S-H-A-H. They always had Shah in their name. One of the last leaders came in after war. Actually, he was in there in World War II. World War II kind of put everything on a hold. Then he got back in power after World War II. His name was the Shah Reza Pahlavi. Okay, he said he should be the king, the monarch, because of his prior relationship, his uncles, his dad, etc. But the people was trying to get, and then keep in mind, this is like 1950, 1951. You wasn't alive then. The Iranian people are pretty intelligent, so they wanted something different, democracy. So they voted into power a leader called Mohammed. What was Muhammad's last name? I always forget his name. Muhammad, not Muhammad. Muhammad Mossadegh. Muhammad Mossadegh. Muhammad Mossadegh was an educated man, and he was bringing in reform. But the United States and Great Britain, the UK, had him taken out of power and put on a house arrest. I'm not sure how he transitioned. He might have just died in the house arrest. And they reinstated the Shah Reza Pahlavi into power. And he set himself up as the king and pretty much took all the money, all the wealth. He also allowed Exxon, Shell, all these Mobil come over there and drink because Iran got a lot of oil. I think it's the world's fifth largest oil producer, and it has the world's largest gas field. Yeah, so it's gas oil rich.
Yeah.
The problem started uh, when the people became more educated. So what I will give the Shah this much. What he did is he sent a lot of his people to different countries to get educated. I went to school with a bunch of Iranians in 1979. Now, one thing I give the Iranians, unlike a lot of people, when they got their education, they went back to Iran and built up their country. So the people were looking at getting rid of the Shah. And to make this long story short, that was his arch enemy. You probably never heard of him, Ayatollah Khomeini.
Yeah.
Ayatollah Khomeini was been basically exiled to different parts of Iran and also outside of Iran. He was a spiritual leader. Okay. Now keep in mind, Iranians have something called, they follow Shia Islam. Shia Islam it has its own set of idiosyncrasies. It's still Islam, but this is not the platform to go into. But anyway, in 1979, the Iranians overthrew the Shah. The Shah had to escape and go to South America. I think he went to Argentina, and him and his family. Ayatollah Khomeini came back, and they made him the leader. The United States didn't like that. So what they did, they gave Iraq, Saddam Hussein, a bunch of money, built up his military, and told him to invade Iran. That was in 1980. It's called the 8-Year War. The Iranians didn't have a number of people, but to show you how, man, these people had a 2 million man army. And they basically bum rushed the Iraqis. I mean, bum rushed them, men, women, and children, and pushed Iraq out of Iran because they had moved within about a couple hundred miles of Tehran. Pushed them. I remember. I'm graduating from graduate school. I'm not telling you what I read in the book. I'm telling you what I saw on the news every night. And then Iran pushed into Iraq and could have taken Iraq, but the Ayatollah Khomeini said no. They got within like 50 miles of Baghdad, maybe 100. He said, stop, we got everything back, we're good. So Saddam Hussein got mad at the United States because he didn't think the United States supported enough, so then he invaded Kuwait. And that's where you got the Gulf War. That's what that was about. And they were saying Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. And after the war, they found out he didn't have any weapons of mass destruction. Okay. So this has been going on for about 45 years. United States, Israel against Iran. And so that's what you have today. But the one thing about Iran has built a very modern community, and they got a very modernized military. They don't have a 2 million man army. They got a 1 million man army.
Yeah, I think I don't know, the guy over Iran, he said when they started, bombing, he said that's not even our expensive. We shooting y'all with the cheap stuff. This ain't even the expensive stuff yet. This is just the little.
Yeah, that's the old weapons.
The little.
Now listen,
preseason.
I'm not pro-Iranian, okay? Because the other factors behind this war, your president he's so silly. He let people talk him into.
You voted for.
That's my president. but he let people talk him, get in this conflict, and now he can't get out. He wants to get out. But the problem with that conflict is a couple of things. Number one, you see the price of gasoline going up.
Yes.
Today I paid $3.38 for a gallon of gas. 2.5 weeks ago, I paid $2.20. And that's for the cheap, that's for unleaded. That's not for plus. Plus is $3.79. And you know what premium is. That price is going to keep going up until there's a resolution. So, That's what I'm saying. You can't put your head in the sand because you might go to the pump one day and the gas is $5 a gallon.
Right. Right.
See, now you're riding around on fumes. See, so
And
that's the
now
one
it's
problem.
gonna be like how it was before. People was out here siphoning gas from the gas station, stealing gas, and it's just gonna be crazy.
The other problem is quiet as it's kept. This fuel is moved to the Strait Hormuz. It's a narrow waterway. And the Iranians said, if you try to oil tankers or anything through there, we're gonna blast it. You may say, well, why we can't stop them? We can't stop them because they have the best drone technology in the world. You gotta stop listening to American media. We might have had the best 30 years ago, but today we ain't got the best. Yeah. So you try to come through that straight, that drone will come. They can shoot the drone off their shoulder. They got a little bitty drone that carries like 5 pounds of explosive. They put it on their shoulder like a bazooka and shoot it. It comes down and hit your ship. So that's one problem. The other problem is, do you know that 50% of the fertilizer comes through that? 50% of the world's fertilizer. Without fertilizer, you can't grow crops. And farmers have already projected to their buyers how many crops they're going to bring to market. That's how they got the price. Now, the people at the market say, I don't know if you're going to be able to supply. So now the price goes up, or they make the farmer price go down. They can't make as much money. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not sure. So he's already planted the crops that he's going to harvest in late April. The crops he wants to plant in April, the harvest in late May. He wants to look at planting. Then he also some crops that'll harvest in early summer. Well, if he ain't got no fertilizer, he can't plant them crops.
Right.
If he can't plant them crops, the people at the market can't buy lettuce, broccoli, cabbage, tomatoes. If they can't buy it, that means HEB and Kroger can't buy it either. Now you ain't got no food. You might just start eating potatoes and beans, staples. I'm just saying.
And that's
the situation we in.
And it's gotten so bad to where more recently the director of national intelligence, Joseph Kent, he resigned from his position. And he says, and I want to read it verbatim. Mm-hmm. He says, after much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as director of the National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. I support the values and the foreign policies that you campaigned in 2016 to about Trump, 2020, 2024, which you enacted in your first term. Until June of 2025, you understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. Oh, Lord. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qasem Soleimani and by defeating ISIS. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined the America First platform and so pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to decisive view into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States. And then, should you strike now, there was a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie and is the same tactic the Israelis used to draw us into the disastrous Iraq war that cost our nation the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make the mistake again. As a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times, and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife, Shannon, in the war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that served no benefit to the American people, nor justifies the cost of American lives. I pray that you will reflect upon what we are doing in Iran and who we are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reverse course and chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to split further toward decline and chaos. You hold the cards. It was an honor to serve in your administration and to serve our great nation. That says a lot. That
Yeah.
says a lot. And so when
Yes.
somebody like this who said he's been deployed 11 times, who's a veteran, you know, what are we doing? Well, now what are we doing? What is he doing?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, he led the neocons and other organizations that have ties to Israel to force him to go in that war. They've been trying to get that war for the last 30 years. And all the other presidents say, no, not going to do it. So Trump is the first one decided to do it. And the reason why is because they was telling Trump that they were close to getting a nuclear weapon. That's what they used to say. And then remember last June, we bombed them for 12 days. And supposedly Trump got on national TV and said they've been totally obliterated, and there's no more nuclear program. Then we turn around now and we're going right back to war again 7 months, 8 months later. And the same thing. I thought you told me you tore up the nuclear weapon. So that was a lie.
It was a lie.
Yeah. So Iran, according to them and other sources, that you can run down, they've constantly said they don't have nuclear weapons. They're not trying to make a nuclear weapon. They've even opened up their facilities for UN inspectors to come and inspect. But we didn't want. We were actually in a talk, trying to put together agreements so that they could come in and inspect. And then Trump then had attacked in Israel, attacked these guys in while it was in negotiations. Okay, so uh, that's the hypocrisy. Now let me tell you, let me give you the 411. I know we getting close to time. The reason why we at war is because fanatical white nationalist Christians, and this is going to be weird to the intelligent man, but if you over spiritual or you caught up in mystery, you might be able to figure it out. They figure they have to start a war and hopefully it'll spread and Armageddon will occur and then Jesus will come back and destroy all the evil. That's why they're fighting this war. And I got proof because some of the generals have been brought up, Google it, been brought up before the military, the Department of, I guess they call it the Department of Defense, and said there are some lieutenants or generals on the front line saying, we're fighting for the battle of Armageddon because we have to do this so Jesus can come back. This is the mentality of these people. That's why you never let certain people get in power. If they say something and it sounds crazy, believe they're going to actually try to do it. And what they found is that Iran is a lot more formidable foe. So it ain't going according to script. Ain't nobody coming back right now, buddy. So that's what's going on in the military. And a lot of military people are saying, hey man, we didn't sign up for this. Now this is not common knowledge, but this is information that you can easily run down. Won't take you but 5 or 10 minutes. These fools actually think that they fight for Jesus to come back. and they're willing to send you and your children to bring in their fantasy, their religious fantasy. That's what they're fighting for. Then you know these people are sick. I've been telling people a long time, some of these people are sick, man. You're psychological sick. Listen, child, how you in 2026 can look in the mirror and say you a white man? You a pink man. And you a dirty pink at that, most of you. You ain't nowhere near white. You need a psychologist. A lot of me, I hate to be critical, but I'm just telling you, if I can, ain't none of y'all looking like this. Stop lying. You know you don't look like this. Let me put this in it. You know you don't look like that. You look pink. Okay? If you look like this, everybody gonna rush you to the hospital. I'm gonna rush you to the hospital, man. You sick. That's all I got to say on that.
And before we are getting to the end, but I just want to play a short clip of this video, and then I want to ask a question. I believe this is in reference to the Iraq War 1980. I want to believe. No, this is about the Iranian leader Ayatollah Khamenei, and he's talking about his views on Black Americans. I'm just going to show a snippet of this video, and then I'm going to follow up with my question.
Okay.
United States. Great injustice was done unto them. They were under pressure in the United States. Thus they came here. We are doing this owing to the tenets of Islam. In return, we ask nothing for their freedom. We want the Shah. Carter must return him. World's international law agree with this principle.
I ask you, as an American and a human being, talking to an Iranian and another human being, is there no room for compromise? Or is Iran now, in effect, at war with the United States?
حضرت امام آقای جناب عالی یا به طور کلی ایران در حال حاضر با امریکا در حال جنگ هستیم؟
جنگ مقصود چی است؟ اگر مقصود این است که
What do you mean by war? If you mean our armies against the United States armies, no, there is no such war. If you mean it is a battle of nerves, it is Carter's doing. We are against war. We are Muslims. We desire peace for all. Carter does not allow this. Carter should set aside his so-called humanism and return the criminal Shah so that we can conclude this matter.
So that was a little clip that I ended up seeing. And so what do you think? Because I think when that was said, and you see a lot of people now on social media, a lot of Black Americans, and they're just, dancing around because they're like, that's not our issue. So what do you think about that video and what he said pertaining Black Americans and how that even affects us today?
Okay. That happened in 1979. And when Ayatollah Khomeini came back, it might have happened before he came back, but it came right after he came back. When the Shah left, you already said with the Shah. I told you how the Shah had all kinds of atrocities and what he was doing, murdering people. He had his own private army, like kind of like ICE. And so he was a criminal. Plus, he stole a lot of money, stole billions of dollars from the Iranian people. So they stormed the United States Embassy. That's what happened. And then they took a bunch of prisoners, mostly men, but some women. So after such a period of time, I'm not sure how long it was, the United States kept trying to get them to release them, the people in the embassy. And so what the Iranians said was, what we'll do, we'll release the blacks and the women. Releasing the blacks because that's when he said that they was forced to come here. So they ain't have a choice. They're in the military, but they've been misused. They've been killed. They've been beaten. They've never had an opportunity to pave their own way for freedom, what they consider freedom. They've always been, this is freedom. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to believe. So he was saying that's inhuman, and we Muslims, we don't do that. So all the black soldiers, I think it was 7 of them, they was free to go. Then I think there was like 2 or 3, maybe 4 women. Wasn't that many more women? Because they were women and they also have a lower status. You got to understand how America was 50 years ago. It's not the way it is today. Even women was low status. Women didn't even get the chance to vote till, and also they wouldn't hire them. So he let the women go. But everybody else he kept. So that's what that's about. Now, I'm not saying Khomeini was a hero, but I do see, and I remember when that happened, he had a sense of justice.
Yeah. And so how should Black Americans respond to the current instability in the U.S. economy, politics, and just world unrest right now? We still worrying about, American Africans, Black Americans being profiled and killed on live TV and on social media, but everything going on. What should Black America? How should we respond to this right now? What should we be doing?
Well, you brought up a lot of different issues. They take a lot more time to talk about, but those things are important. Profiling. That's very important. So we should continue to do what we're doing. Everybody, you have to look at the American African as a subset of the whole group. Okay. And understand that your success is also going to result in everybody else's success. Well, see, when you couldn't drink at the water fountain. See, I remember that. You couldn't walk across the street. I got chased home at night one time. I was over in West Nashville. If you was over the railroad tracks, you're not supposed to be over there when the sun go down. So I got chased. But now they ain't gonna run back over here either, because that's where all the brothers at. Okay? So you had an understanding. What I'm saying, so this is how America used to be. A lot has changed in America. So don't say you're not free. Because I remember if you said, man, I don't care what you say, man, it hit you in your mouth. And you better not say nothing, the police gonna get you. Now you can say, I don't get nothing. If you got a camcorder or kill somebody's video, you gotta be careful. And there's a lot of people went to jail today. You may not want to admit it. There's a lot of people I've seen go to jail trying to misuse Black people, American Africans, and other people. So take advantage of your freedom. You as free as you want to be. You're on social media right now talking about the white man is the devil. Ain't nobody come to your house picking you in jail. You're on social media right now, posting stuff. I hate the white man. The white man's the devil. We need to be this. Ain't nobody messing with you. Try to do that in 1950, 1960. Don't say you ain't free. You as free as you want to be. Now, again, that's a whole another subject. Ain't nobody gonna give you no whole lot of money. So stop waiting on reparations. They gave you some reparations. You don't think they gave you a token of reparations. Ask your great grandmama or your grandma. They told you this. Well, we know we did bad. We know we did you wrong. Don't hate us. I tell you what we do. You will go to school. We'll give you free college, and you get education, make some money, or I can give you some AFDC. I can give you some cheese, some food stamps, and cheap apartment. 20% of us took the money to go to school. 80% of us ate the free cheese. That's why you got the disparity right now. You got the so-called. Don't let them people tell you that. They telling you what they read. I'm telling you what I know. I asked my sister, I said, are you going to go to college? You going to FISC? Nah, I ain't going to school, man. I've been going to school all my life. I'm sick of school. This is 1968. Most of these people talking on social media not born. What we should do is the things that you're doing right now, a lot of people. So I see some young American Africans growing crops. They're doing farms in the farm. You need to do that. I see some of them pooling their resources at the farmer's market. You need to do that, spread that. If you don't know something, find somebody who can help you, right? Also, you need to do is stay abreast of what's going on in the world, not just particularly in your community. Yeah. If you're not voting, you can come on social media, shut your mouth. Because you ain't adding it up, or you ain't got nothing going on. You ain't done that. You can die tomorrow, many of these people, and the only thing they have one line on your name. You ain't done a damn thing but run your mouth. And people getting tired of hearing that. I know people don't like it. I don't care. I say what I want to say. You are not leaving anything. You're not leaving a path. I'm just not helping the industry. I work on natural products. No, I don't buy them from Amazon. I don't buy them from HEB. I get the plant and separate the oil from the plant and then mix it together and form something to take care of your eczema. And just because you don't see it in the store, you can get it. There's a lot of things. It's not just me. There's other people that are doing this right now, black people. But we don't want to listen to them because we got our own thing. So there are many things we can do. Make sure another Trump don't get in office. Get Governor Abbott out of office. Well, but I don't like the Democrats. Okay, run your own guy. Who you got?
That. But we deal with
run anti-Akbar.
It's
run anti-Akbar.
People, they love to talk about what needs to be done and who needs to be doing it. But when you turn around and ask them about doing it, they're the first one to tell you why it's not going to work.
Not gonna work.
I'm not going to vote because it's from the years before and all that. And you voted the one time you decided to vote. And because it didn't go your way, because you thought your one vote was gonna be the vote to take us over the edge, you gave up, and that's the problem that we have right now. So y'all know people that's talking and telling you, well, we should be doing this, no black leaders, but that same person is watching this live right now, ain't doing nothing.
And ain't leaking nowhere. Listen, if you was to give them the leadership role, don't you know they wouldn't do nothing? Man, why you giving it to me, brother? Why you telling me, brother, what I'm supposed to do? Exactly. That's why we don't give you the leadership role. It's okay, man. Like I see the American Africans in have the what you say, kind of like the security, military kind of thing. Keep doing it. That's good. Keep doing that. You can march all you want. Understand that the people you might shoot gonna look like you when you have to. So don't get shot. When most of the people trying to steal your water that you got from your purification process, they look like you. Let's understand that reality.
Whoo! Well, you guys, this has been a information-packed podcast. If you missed it, or if you didn't hear where my daddy said, go back and replay it. But God, this is serious. It's something that you need to be preparing yourselves and your families for. Continue to watch the news and remember what he says, something that I usually take with me every day. Believe none of what you hear, only half of what you see. Thank you so much, Daddy, Muslim Shahid, the scientist. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. And we hope to have you again back on the podcast. And until next time, we will see you when we see you. Peace and love. And please stay on the back stage before we.